Hey y'all, this is Danielle Hayden with the Hayden Group in Keller Williams, Ann Arbor. If you're in the greater Ann Arbor area, we would love to assist you in learning all about what it takes to actually qualify for and purchase a home in the state of Michigan. Are you ready? We believe that it's so important to come from contribution and educate our clients so that they feel well prepared and nothing ends up as a big surprise in what is already a somewhat stressful financial transaction. Buying your home can be the biggest asset and investment that you make. We want to make sure to make it as smooth as possible. So with that in mind, we're going to go ahead and inform you about what you can expect in the home buying process. The first step in the home buying process is selecting your real estate professional. Now, there's a difference between a listing agent and a buyer's agent. We recommend that you go ahead and solidify your relationship with a buyer's agent as soon as is possible in your home search. It doesn't matter if you're going to be buying in 2 years, 1 year, or 6 months. Making sure you find the right professional to handle your real estate transaction as a buyer is really important and should be your first step. If you're touring open houses, you might notice that you come in contact with the listing agent of the property. It's really important that you understand the difference between the listing agent and a buying agent. The listing agent is already signed into a contract with the seller. It's their fiduciary responsibility to represent the financial interests of the seller. They are not your agent, and frankly, they're probably not your friend either when it comes to negotiations. This is why it's so important to go ahead and just solidify a relationship with a trusted real estate professional that's going to be dedicated to representing your best interests. You know what the best part is? It doesn't cost you a thing. All of the real estate commissions in a transaction are typically charged to the seller's side, so the listing contract has already got that covered, and the listing agent is going to share half of their commission in most cases with the buyer's agent. So the buyer agent is basically a free fiduciary advocate for you. So important to go ahead and just solidify that relationship from the get-go. Now with that said, how do you pick a trusted real estate professional? The first thing you want to ask yourself when picking a real estate professional as your buyer's agent is, do you have good communication with them? Do you like them? Have you built a rapport with them? Okay? And finally, all of those things lead to the essential question. Do you trust this person and feel like you want to get into business with this individual? The second thing I think that it's essential to cover with a buyer's agent is, what is their communication like? What are your expectations and what are their expectations in terms of communication? I know I touch base very often with my buyers. In fact, if a property comes up, I'm going to immediately notify them if I feel that it ticks off most of their boxes, so they hear from me in real time. But also, we check in with them at least weekly to make sure that we don't drop the ball and we know what's going on in their lives. The third item of focus that comes into play when you're choosing a real estate professional is, what kind of support do they have on the administrative side? Being a buyer's agent is a very taxing and time-consuming part of the real estate world. Much time is spent on the road, showing houses, going to inspections and appraisals, and frankly, it can get very time consuming. The most important question I want you to ask of your real estate professional is, who do they have to support them while they're representing your best interests? For example, the Hayden Group currently has a director of operations that basically handles all oversight administratively in the office. And reporting to that director of operations is also a transaction coordinator and a marketing coordinator. That way we can make sure that whether it's running the business, handling the listing side, or getting you to the closing table, we've got enough people lined up behind us to make sure that you have that extra level of support should your agent not be available. Furthermore, the Hayden Group recently introduced a new position to our team, and I'm so excited about it. This position is the market specialist. We have a fantastic market specialist right now, and it's her job all day, every day, to review the MLS, look at the hot sheets, and make sure that if a new property has hit the market that meets your needs, we're the first to notify our clients about it and book a showing. Because of this position, we've been able to be the first showing and the first offer. And because we include things like signing bonuses to encourage a quick signature, We've often secured the property for our client before anyone else has even gotten to see it. In this competitive buyer's market, being able to get a property under contract that quickly without anyone else seeing it is going to save you thousands of dollars. One of the benefits of having a market specialist like we do is that they're able to really advise you in real time about the level of urgency that needs to be brought to the table when you're looking at a specific property. What do I mean by that? One of the benefits of having a market specialist on our team is that when you go and see a property, the market specialist is going to be able to advise you about the level of urgency that you may need to bring into the situation. They're going to be able to tell you that because of the number of days on market, whether this is a new listing or an old listing, the price per square foot compared to the neighborhood price per square foot, the presentation and condition, they're going to be able to advise you about what level of urgency you need to bring into the situation to be able to secure the property. And you can decide if this is the property for you and it's a 10 plus plus, we're probably going to need to come in at list price or just above. If it's not a 10 plus plus property for you, or it's been on the market a little bit longer, or it's overpriced, we're going to be able to advise you on how to react to that situation as well. Okay, great. So you've decided to hire the Hayden Group as your buyer representative. We sincerely appreciate your business. Now, what is the next step? The next step is for us to connect you with a list of trusted local lenders that we work with on a regular basis. There are a few things to consider when choosing your lender. You want a lender that A, has a relationship with your realtor and works well with your realtor. This is really important because when it comes to getting updates, if the lender and the realtor are not on the same page and they're not in great communication, a lot can fall through the cracks. Secondly, you're going to want to make sure that your lender is local. Why does this matter? Well, this matters because your local lender has a vested interest in doing a great job by you. If most of their business comes primarily from the people you know, you work with, and you live around, then you better believe that they're going to care if you get to the closing table and how you feel when you get there. The next reason to get a local lender is because local lenders are much more likely to hire from a local pool of appraisers. The worst thing you can do is have an appraiser come out to the property that is not familiar with the area. The next thing you're going to want to do is make sure that the letter you obtain from your local lender based on the information that you've provided is a pre-approval and not a pre-qualification letter. What's the difference? Well, a pre-qualification letter is based mostly on what you're telling the lender about your sources of income, your debt, your assets. Maybe they ran a credit report, but did they verify anything? Most likely not. This is why you need a pre-approval letter. Your pre-approval letter is going to help your offer rise to the top. It's also going to make sure that the lender has taken a really good look at everything you've got going on, and they're able to say with certainty that they would submit this file to underwriting and that chances are your loan will get approved with flying colors. That's the kind of certification that we all need going forward so that we have clarity and purpose and we don't stumble upon any kind of hiccups that surprise us later. Great, so now you have your realtor in place and you have a pre-approval letter from a local lender. Our next step is going to be our buyer consult appointment. The purpose of the buyer consult is for us to set expectations both for yourselves and for us as a team. Also to identify what your goals are and your motivation for moving. The buyer consult also allows us a moment to review what your wants and needs are for your property and help more narrowly define your search so that we can efficiently find you the home that you're looking for. The buyer consult also provides an opportunity for you to get to know and meet our team. These are people who are going to be intricately involved in your transaction, and it's really important that you are able to gain a sense of trust to know who is handling this major financial transaction for you. Lastly, during this buyer consult, we're going to go over what kind of paperwork and documents allow you to hire us to represent your best interests. We can't book appointments and take you out on tours and negotiate on your behalf if we're not actually hired to do so. So go ahead and prepare yourselves because we'll be signing some documents at this appointment to make sure that we solidify our relationship and give us the rights, the duties, and the privilege of being your realtor. We want to make sure that you know what to expect once you're writing your offer. We ask that during the home search, you go ahead and make sure to bring your personal checkbook with you every time you go and see a home. The reason why is because when you write an offer, there's something called an earnest money deposit. The earnest money deposit is typically between 1% to 2% of the purchase price of the home, and you put that money down on the home when you make the offer. We collect that check at the time of the showing, and we take it back to our brokerage, and we keep it safe until your offer has been accepted. Once your offer has been accepted, that check will be deposited with our broker and held until the day of closing, at which point it will be applied to your down payment. You'll also have some other anticipated expenses we want to make sure that you're prepared for. One would be the home inspection. Home inspections typically range around $500, give or take a couple hundred, depending on who you hire and what you ask them to look at. Another inspection that we want you to be prepared for is the possibility of a radon inspection. That can range between $100 and $300, again, depending on who you hire, where they're coming from, and what they're doing to test. Another anticipated expense would be the appraisal. You'll need to check with your lender for how much they charge for an appraisal fee to order the appraisal on your behalf. Typically, the appraisal fee is somewhere around $500. Another inspection you may elect to have, which we strongly encourage, is a sewer scope. A sewer scope would be bringing out a company to put a camera down the sewer line out as far as they can go to the main line in the middle of the street. This will help you identify how old your sewer line is, what it's made out of, and what the current condition of the sewer line is, including whether it's obstructed by things such as roots. Repairing a sewer line can cost tens of thousands of dollars, so we want to make sure that we spend the couple $100s of due diligence to protect you in your investment. So just to recap, the anticipated expenses of buying a home can vary. You need to have liquid at least 1% to 2% of the purchase price for the earnest money deposit, roughly $500 for the home inspection, roughly $200 for the radon test, roughly $500 for the appraisal, and roughly $250 for the sewer scope. Yes, a lot of these expenses are elective, but we want to make sure that we set you up for success and you have the opportunity to perhaps save and set aside the amount of money it will take to properly protect yourselves in this transaction. Great. So you've now hired us, you have your pre-approval letter, and we've met together for the buyer consult. All the paperwork is signed and we are ready to get to work. The next step would be going out with our market specialist to view homes. We will set up a home search for you and we encourage you to download our app. We'll go ahead and put the link right here in the description for this video. Once you find a home that you like, whether you found it on your own and notified us of it via email, you found it in our app and were communicating with us through that way, or our market specialist sent it to you and you like it enough, go ahead and drive by the property. You'd be surprised. This will eliminate 50% of the properties that you believe that you are interested in and help us make sure that we're saving our time as a tour, specifically on the homes that are going to check all those boxes. So just to recap, when you do find a home that you're interested in seeing, you're going to 1, drive by the home, 2, make sure we know as soon as possible that you are interested in seeing this home and how the drive-by went. And 3, we're going to go and see it. When you're at the appointment, the market specialist is going to be telling you how many days on market, how this price compares to other homes in the area that have sold, what we think it will appraise for, and whether we think it's overpriced or underpriced. At that point, we're going to give you advice about how to go forward should you like this property. When you're out with our market specialist will be in direct contact with your buyer's agent to make sure that when you are ready and you have found the home that you want to make an offer on, the buyer agent is lined up, ready to go, responsive, so we can get that offer in as competitively as possible and quickly as possible to save you money. Great. So you found the home that you want to make an offer on, and our market specialist has communicated to our buyer's agent. We're ready to make the offer. So now's the time that you're going to want to go ahead and pull that checkbook out and write your earnest money deposit on this home. Remember, the earnest money deposit can be anywhere between 1% and 2% of the purchase price of the home, depending on how strong you want your offer to look. You're going to write that check out to Keller Williams Realty, and you're going to hand it to your market specialist at the time of the showing. Your market specialist will then give your buyer's agent a call, let them know that you'd like to discuss the terms of the offer, and take that check back to the brokerage for safekeeping. The check will not be cashed until your offer has been accepted, at which point it must be cashed within 48 hours. So please make sure that you have the money where you need it to be the minute you know your offer has been accepted. The money will then be applied at the closing table to your down payment. Now it's time to talk about the offer. Once you receive your phone call from your buyer's agent congratulating you on finding the home that you've been searching for, we're going to talk about some of the terms of the sales contract. One of the terms of the sales contract is going to be purchase price. We'll be able to advise you on how strong to make your purchase price. Please be advised that if it's a competitive situation and the home is a good deal, you're likely going to need to come in extremely strong with your offer, and we have multiple ways that you can do that, and we'll talk about that at that time. Next, we'll talk about timeline. When ideally would you like to close on this property? A strong offer means 30 to 45 days from now until closing. It also means tight timelines when it comes to inspection and appraisal. Ideally, we wouldn't want to order the appraisal and finalize our loan application until after we've been through inspections. So you're going to want to make sure to have all of your inspectors lined up as soon as possible so that we can get through that process in a time that is okay with the seller and then make application and appraisal. In some situations, it will be so competitive that you'll have to do all three at the same time. All that means is that if things fall apart in inspection, we'll have to place that phone call and see if we can stop the appraisal so that you don't get charged. It is true that sometimes it can take a day or two before you hear back regarding your offer. We will do everything we can to encourage a speedy response from the sellers, but please be advised it may not happen that same day. In the meantime, we're going to stay in touch with you daily so that you feel comfortable and assured that your agent is communicating with you and giving you the most up-to-date information and you're not left wondering. Okay, so now we've made your offer and we've heard back from the agent. Congratulations, you got the house. What's next? The transaction coordinator is going to be sending you something called the contingency timeframe worksheet. So when you get this contingency timeframe worksheet, you're going to want to look at what the contingency is. What rights does it give you? Does it give you a right to consult an attorney, a right to have an inspection, a right to have final approval of your financing, and what date those rights expire? What that means is that if you're going to be protesting or renegotiating based on any of those contingencies, you need to do so in writing through your agent before the expiration date of that contingency. If you have any questions throughout the process regarding these contingencies and how the negotiations work, go ahead and reach out to your agent on our team. I'm sure they'd be happy to assist you. How much negotiating should you expect to happen after you've reached your purchase agreement? We always advise our clients to make sure they're truly comfortable with the purchase agreement that they have reached in the very beginning. There are no guarantees in negotiations, and we want to make sure that you're not relying on something like a low appraisal result or an inspection to bring down that sales price. If we're able to bring down your price through negotiations, that would be fantastic, but we want you to think of it as a cherry on top of a sundae. Just remember, when you went into the negotiations initially, you really wanted this house. So we're going to make sure that you get it first and foremost, and then you get it at the best deal possible. When it comes to inspections, I like my clients to understand, unless you're buying a new construction home and you have a walkthrough at the end where you can ask the builder to remedy things that are not to your satisfaction, we ask you to remember that the home has been lived in before. There are always little things around the house that could use a little improvement. The purpose of your home inspection is not necessarily to find all of the little things that need to be remedied in the home. The purpose of the home inspection is for us to find out as much as we can about the home and to reveal any deficiencies or repairs that were not blatantly obvious, either through the seller's disclosures, the listing advertisement, or when you went through the house originally. So let's talk about appraisal. Appraisal is something that you pay for as the buyer, but it's there to protect the bank and the people who are lending you money to buy the house. An appraisal is an objective opinion by an appraiser about the value of your home. You look at comparable sales from the last 6 months, and what I mean by comparable is similar in style, so a ranch compared to a ranch or a two-story compared to a two-story. Within a certain number of square feet of the subject property, typically I use 200 square feet on either side, within a certain year built of the subject property, so typically I do 10 years on either side of the home's year built date, and they look at 3 to 4 comparable sales within the last 6 months. Of course, these are also subject to geographic locations, so you are looking within a subdivision or a neighborhood and expanding out from there if necessary. There can be a few week period where you are waiting to simply get the appraisal back, and this can be a nerve-wracking period for buyers and sellers alike. The biggest concern is what if the property appraises lower? Of course, a seller is concerned if the property appraises lower because there's a good chance that they're going to end up selling for lower than they originally had agreed to. There is a chance that negotiations could fall apart because the seller is expecting the sales price of the property and the property did not appraise, in which case negotiations would begin. In most cases, the purchaser is able to purchase the property for the appraised value simply because no other buyer is willing to pay above appraised value for the property. However, in some markets, including seller markets or markets where values are going up very, very quickly and there are multiple offers because of high buyer demand, sometimes in those markets, you may be expected to contribute some cash at closing above appraised value. Typically, these kinds of agreements are made prior to going under a final agreement. Throughout the process, you're going to be interacting on and off with your lender. This is going to start with your first application with the lender that will lead to either your pre-qualification or hopefully pre-approval letter as we went through before. Once you're under contract, we will have a certain amount of days before you need to make your final application with your lender. Make sure that they have all of the documents that they need in order to submit the file to underwriting. And you'll also have to cause your appraisal to be ordered. Sometimes the appraisal fee needs to be paid for in advance of closing, and sometimes it will be paid for at the closing table. So talk to your lender to find out more details of how much that's going to cost and how to pay for the appraisal. With that said, much of the first part of being under contract is going to be you working with myself, your realtor, to go ahead and do all of your due diligence about the property. Once we get through the due diligence period and then you make your final application and cause your appraisal to be ordered, you're then going to have a lot more interaction specifically with your lender. You're going to be going back and forth with your lender, their underwriters, and processors to make sure that they have all of the information and documentation that they need to satisfy the conditions to underwrite your loan. That may be as simple as a photocopy of your driver's license, or it may be a wet signature needed on a piece of paper that allows them to pull your tax returns from the IRS. It is imperative that to keep your transaction smoothly going towards the finish line, that you get back to your lender and their underwriters and processors as soon as is possible with any information that they request. The last 3 weeks or so of your loan while you're waiting for the appraisal results to come back in is just going to be a series of satisfying whatever conditions the lender comes back to you with. About 3 business days or a week before closing, you're going to be issued something called Clear to Close. Congratulations. That means that the financing contingency has now been lifted from your contract because you have achieved final approval of your financing, which is quite often the last contingency that you need to satisfy in your purchase agreement. Once you have a clear to close, the lender and the title company work together to make sure that you and your realtor are informed of anything that needs to happen between now and closing. Keep on the lookout for instructions for closing day, such as utility information, what to bring for cash to close, what kind of identification you're going to need, and where and when you will be closing. You likely won't get this information until just before closing, after you get the clear to close. I like to tell my clients to keep in mind that the day before closing, you may need to go to the bank and wire funds. You're always going to want to make sure that you have appropriate wiring instructions. There are several scams out there, so you're going to want to call the title company and verify that they indeed did send you the wiring instructions so that the money gets to the place that it's appropriate for. We've now taken you through the process of choosing your real estate agent, getting pre-approved through a local lender, and beginning your search through having a great buyer consult, knowing to drive by properties first, and then meeting with your market specialist to find the home of your dreams. We've walked you through the process of what it takes to write an offer and get a property under contract, as well as a little bit of what to expect once you are under contract. I sincerely hope that you've enjoyed this video and its content. If it's helped you and you feel better equipped to go about the process of getting qualified for and purchasing your new home, please go ahead and like this video, subscribe to our channel, and toggle the bell for instant notification of more content just like this. We appreciate any of your comments down below in the comments section. Please let us know what you enjoyed about the video, as well as what additional information you would find helpful. Thank you so much. We look forward to assisting you and yours in finding and purchasing the home of your dreams. For more information, go ahead and give our offices a call at 734-212-3260. And don't forget to look in the description for the link to our consumer app where you can start your search today.